Welcome to Options 101. We're going to be going through some very introductory parameters of options. We're going to break things down here tonight that it's going to bring you forward to a better understanding of how to look at options and what options exactly are and the processes that go through on all of them. All right, the basic options that we're going to be speaking about tonight in all are just going to be considered call options. So we're not going to look at anything else, but just in your mind, I just want you guys to think always that this discussion is going to be for call options, and just keep that in mind throughout this. What are options? Options are essentially a contract to purchase a bundle of 100 shares of a certain stock at a set price. So it is a contract that you are purchasing, or not you, but the buyer is purchasing from a seller. It's not stock, it is just the contract. That's what an option is. It's a contract. The person who is the buyer or the seller agrees to this contract by giving. I'm sorry, it's an agreed contract by purchasing or selling the contract. And I got a little messed up there. I heard a noise in my ear. Sorry about that, guys. The contract itself is for options that you are getting when you purchase the bundle of shares later on down the road. But an option is just a contract. And sorry, I got a couple noises in my ears there. Let me click out of that real quick. All right. I'm going to move into the next one here, guys. Why do we want to learn about options? There's a whole bunch of reasons. And each trader is going to use a different strategy or a use for all of when they choose to trade options. It's important that we learn about options as they affect the overall market, and it's another tactic that we'll use to make money. We'll use to get them tendies. You don't have to use it, but either way, it's good to know these things, because if you don't know them, you're not going to be able to understand everything that's going on in the market. I don't understand everything that's going on in the market, but knowing what I know now, I can see certain things happening, and it allows me to have options, not the contract, but options in my trading to move forward. That's why I think, and it's good for everyone to learn about options, even if they're not planning on trading them in the future. All right. When a buyer purchases an option, again, they're not purchasing a stock. They're purchasing a right to buy a bundle of stock at a set price. That is to say, I'm not buying stock when I buy an option. I'm going to a seller and I'm going to get a contract to buy stock down the road. That's what the options contract is. It's not the buying of stock, it's the purchasing of a contract to possibly buy stock down the road. The buyer doesn't own any stock until that contract is exercised. We're going to go through the exercise part of it, but right now, just remember that term. The contract does not give any stock to anyone until certain parts of the contract are exercised. Now, the same thought process applies when someone is selling a stock options. The seller is not selling stock when they sell an option. They're selling someone the right to purchase their bundle at a set price. So that is to say that in the sense of the buyer didn't buy any stock, he was just buying the options contract. The seller isn't selling stock, he's selling the options contract. So no one has exchanged any stock at any point in the contract. You're just buying a contract in this sense. We're going to go through all of that a little bit later on, but right now we're going to go over a few definitions, and these definitions are really, really key. And before we get into the definitions, is there anyone who's a little lost or feeling like they don't understand what I've kind of gone through there? Because if there is, I'd like you to ask that questions, and we'll clear it all up for you. Feel free to use those mics, guys. I'm going to assume if I don't hear any DMs or mics going off that everyone understands that an option is a contract. All right. I'm going to move into a few definitions. Urethane kid, I just got a message saying, should you be seeing anything on the screen? Yes, you should. You should click on ODFRO, and there should be a little camera. If you click on that, you should be able to watch my stream on the screen. I hope that worked out for you. Message me if you're able to see that. All right. Urethane kid, I hope you can get to that. Like I said, guys, if anyone's not feeling like they got anything there or they're a little lost about the options is a contract, just go ahead and ask questions or anything. You just shoot them out. We're here for you. We'll definitely go over that. That being said, I'm going to move into a few definitions here, and this is a good time. If you have a pen and paper, I'd really like you to jot down what these definitions are, and then I'd also like you to take the time while we're going over them and kind of reword it where you think is what it means, because I'm going to ask some of you a little bit later on how you wrote it. All I'm seeing is two little boxes spinning around. Is anyone else not seeing my screen?
I don't see anything. 3 dots.
I'm not seeing the screen order, bro. I got two little boxes spinning.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead and just refresh it.
What about now? You guys not seeing my screen? Bulldog?
Yes. Still two boxes, but I'm just
I can see it. Coming through more
The
clear
blue
now.
screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's a connection issue.
If you are seeing the two little boxes, go ahead and close it and reopen it. Really?
Sounds like everybody's having to redo that. Bulldog, have you been able to see it the whole time? I'm on slide 6 already.
Yes, I can see the slides.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know about anybody else, but Odifro's voice was going through really crazy. It sounded kind of like a record.
I never noticed that.
That's weird. Is it sounding okay now? Sorry about that if there was issues with it.
No, everything's fine.
Okay.
We will have a crystal clear recording of the class available after, if there are any technical issues.
Aw, I want to join.
Sorry. Is it full still, Bulldog? I'm not in the Discord. I'm on the...
The only way for me to tell is for someone new to try and join.
I just tried to
Odie.
join.
Yes.
You got your OD game stream. You could use that to share.
Hey, I'm in.
Might be able to do that. Yeah, hold on. I can't do that right at the moment. That takes a little bit. All right. So before we get moving on here, guys, I know we've had a little break in what we were talking about. Just to recap, before we do that, is everyone able to see the screen now?
I don't see it. I'm
No,
gonna
I'm
step
still not.
up and do the recording.
I,
I'll see it in full when it's done. See you
Okay.
later.
All
Me
right.
too.
I see it.
Okay. We should be seeing a blue screen with some words on it. That's one of the slides we've been going through here. I'm sorry if there's been some issues, if anyone's not been able to see it. I just want to recap before we move. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I'm saying it perfect.
Okay. Just to kind of recap for anyone that's just listening in and not be able to see here for a minute. The contract, I can go back to that first slide just so you guys can see. The options are essentially a contract to purchase a bundle of 100 shares of a certain stock at a set price. That is really important, and I just want to make sure everyone remembers that. It's not buying stock. An option is a contract to possibly buy stock down the road. I'm going to move forward again into the definitions. And again, if everyone's got their pencil and paper handy, even if you can't see the screen, I'll be reading these off so that you could write them down. And I would ask that anyone that is writing these down, hopefully everyone, also tries to reword this in their own wording. Because I'm going to ask a couple of you after the end of this, and just to find out if you're listening, but also to see if you're getting it. So here, I'm going to go through a couple of our definitions here. First definition we're going to go over today is strike price. This is the agreed upon price that the options contract is scheduled to proceed on. That is to say that it is the price within the contract that the buyer and the seller agree upon. It is an important price, and you'll see why as we move forward, but in most senses, it's important to remember that it is the agreed upon price that's inside the options contract. All right. The term exercise is the action taken by the buyer when they plan to finalize the options contract. You buy the contract, and there are options within that contract. One of the options is to finalize the contract. That would be exercise the contract. So remember that exercise is the closing of that contract. All right, let's move forward here. Premium. The premium is the cost that the buyer will pay to purchase the options contract. Every time you buy an options contract, you're going to pay a premium. And this is that cost. That is what the premium is. It is a very important number that you'll look at as we move forward. But most of all, it's important to remember that the premium is the cost of the contract itself. Okay. Now we've got the break-even price. This is the sum of the strike price, the first word we used got in our definitions, and the premium, that third word. The break-even price is if you were to add the strike price and the premium, that's how you're going to get the break-even price. And as we move forward today, you'll understand what the break-even price is and why it's there. I'm going to delve a little bit deeper now into strike price. Strike price is a very simple concept. It's a price at which the contract is set. So again, it's that agreed upon price inside the contract. It's the price at which the actions in the contract can and usually will be processed or exercised. So again, the strike price is when someone that bought the contract will usually exercise the contract on. Although, just important to note, just because the strike price is met, it doesn't mean the contract will be implemented or exercised. And that is the main reason why the word option is used to describe this contract, because the buyer is given options on how they'd like to proceed through that contract. Would they like to finalize it? Do they even want to do anything with it? we'll find out a little bit more about that as we go forward here, but that's a key point of why it's called options, because the buyer of that contract is given options. The seller, he doesn't really have that many options. He's got really one: collect his money. The buyer can do a lot of things, a little bit more down the road stuff, but today we're just learning that the options contract is a contract that gives the buyer options. All right. Again, that was strike price. It's the agreed upon price that's inside that options contract, and it's important. All right. When the term exercised is used, it means the contract has been carried out and finalized. In this scenario, the actions described in the contract given to the buyer of the options contract, they've all been applied. So when you have options inside that contract to do certain things, one of them is to finalize the contract. That's what exercise means. It's when it's been applied and the contract is finalized and done. It's important to note, the buyer always has the option to exercise the contract at any time, even if the strike price, that agreed upon price inside the contract, is not met. So the buyer at any moment can finalize that contract if they want to. They can do whatever they like at any time. Not do whatever they want, but they can take it any time. They can say, you know what? It's not at the strike price, but I want to go ahead and finalize this contract. All right, I'm going to move into premiums here. I'm sorry, go ahead if you had a question. All right. So premiums. All right. Premium is the money exchanged from the buyer to the seller to buy the options contract or to purchase the options contract. But remember this, guys, this is really important. A premium is a non-refundable and it is a cost aside from the price of the bundle of shares. That is to say, if I buy an options contract and I pay the premium, there's no chance of getting that money back. The premium is the purchase price for the contract, not the shares. So the premium is to get the contract going. It's an instant payment that belongs to the seller of the options contract once it is opened. And once it's opened is when the seller and the buyer agree and money's been sent, that contract is opened, and that's the seller collects his premium from the buyer, and he doesn't have to do anything else. That's his money. The buyer cannot get that money. And even if the contract is not exercised, the seller will keep that premium no matter what. So when a seller sells a contract, like I said, he doesn't have very many options, but he gets that money up front and it's his money. That premium, it's his. The buyer, on the other hand, gives that premium to the seller, and then he has options how to proceed with the remainder of the contract that he just bought. But that's the premium. It's the price to buy the contract. And we'll get a little bit farther into it going forward, but we're just going over these four terms so that everyone's got them in their head here. All right. Now we're going to talk about the break-even price. Again, the break-even price is the sum of the premium paid for the contract and the strike price found within the contract. If you are buying a call, this is an important number, and you'll want to pay attention to this price. In fact, you'll always want to pay attention to this price, but it's a really important price for us here today, and you'll see why in a little bit. Because the sum of the premium and the strike price, because it is the sum of the premium and the strike price, it means it is the overall cost of the option being exercised. Therefore, if you were to buy a call option, you would pay a premium, and then let's say you exercised it. So then you would pay the premium and the strike price. That would be your total price, but it's also your break-even price because it's the price at which, if everything's met, you would break back even again. Well, that's a little bit more stuff down the road, but just remember that the break-even price is the premium plus the strike price. All right, guys. Does anyone have any questions about any of these four definitions or anything else we've talked about going forward? Because we're going to see a couple examples on the screen of these four definitions. I'm going to bring those forward, and then we're going to get a little deeper here. but I just don't want to leave anybody in the dust. So if you're not feeling good about it, you have any questions, turn on that mic or hit me up in the DMs, because I don't want to move forward unless you're feeling like we're definitely ready to move forward.
I think we're good. I think examples would definitely try to help nail down the definition.
For sure. They're coming. But thank you for that. I'm sorry, I didn't see who was talking. I think that might have been Biscuits.
Yep, that was me.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else have any questions? Don't feel like they understand any of those 4 terms? You guys feel good about them? All right, I'm going to pull up an example here. All right, this is an options example, guys. And as you can see, 3 of those 4 terms that we were just talking about are actually here on our screen. And I know most of you guys, if you're introductory here to options, you probably walked into an options page, if you've ever seen one, and you looked around and you're like, what is going on? What are all these numbers? So that's what we're going to kind of go through. And now that we know those terms, we can kind of start to understand what's going on in the page. So if you look in the red, you'll see a red circle and it says strike price. And if you look down that left side column, those are all numbers and they're going to be considered strike prices. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all dollars. All right. Then if you look the next one, the break-even price, the green, that's our next line. We're going to hold off on the information in that one, but we know it's there. All right. Then we're going to look at current price. Now, the current price on this page itself, and you'll see on different platforms that everything's different. So there's a reason we're kind of walking through this one here. But on this platform, you'll see that the current price is right now, share price of $7.70, and it's between the $8 strike price and the $7 strike price. Now pay attention, that's going to be important later on. The premium, as you can see, is in the orange box. It's going to be the one on the right-hand side of our screen here. And every single price in there is a premium for a contract. That's the price for that contract. So as you can see, the $8 strike price at the very top of the screen here, the $8 strike price is currently selling for $1.13 premium. All right. So now we look at break even. As you can see underneath that green circle, if we were to take an $8 strike price plus our premium to get our break even price, so using that formula, that strike price plus premium. I'm sorry, Nufo, if you had to go. I'm sorry if you didn't get the screen there. If you take the strike price, guys, and the premium and you add them together, you'll see underneath that green circle, it equals the break-even price. This is important later on going forward, but just to be able to find these things on separate screens is very important. So what we're looking for here again is you can see the price and the premium are in the orange. The strike price over there is in the red. The current price on the screen, and this will usually be seen in most platforms where you'll be able to see a current price. We want to take note of that. And then the break even here on this screen, of course, you can see it equals $9.13. That would be $8 strike price plus the $1.13 premium. Again, we can look down the line and we'll see $6 one is trading, or the price for the contract is $2.07. So the break price is going to be $8.07 on that $6 call option, or the $6 strike price call option. All right, I'm going to move into another example, and this one's important. Why we paid attention to the break-even price formula, the strike price plus premium. Because sometimes you're not going to have the luxury of having that break-even price shown for you. This is a completely different platform, a screen on one of theirs. And as you can see, this is a page for ANY. It's currently trading at $7.54. We can tell that by looking at the current price box. It's in the middle of the screen there. I've got it circled in blue. All right, so on the left-hand side, it actually tells you your strike prices in the red circle going down. $3, $4, $5, $6, $7. Then the current price, the $7.54, is splitting the $8 strike price, the $9, the $10. You can see it's shown basically the same on both screens with that current price splitting, showing you where the current price is and between those strike prices. Now, the premium on this platform, circled again in the orange box, is what you would see as the ask. The ask is always going to be the premium. The bid is what a buyer is trying to buy it at. The ask is what the seller is selling it at. So the premium price, when you go to certain platforms, you're going to see, and I'll let you guys all know, since we do a lot of Webull around here, this is the Webull options platform. You'll be able to know that the premium price for an option is in the ask line. The strike price there, again, it tells you the strike price. But here is the important thing, especially for Webull. Nowhere on this screen does it tell you the break-even price. But we can use that formula to figure out the break-even price on any one of these on the screen here. So for instance, let's look at that $6 call option, the $6 strike. The ask for it is 201. It's a $6 strike. So we know that the break-even price is going to be 801. All right. Does anyone have any questions about break-even price or any of those screens? Are they having any questions about what they're seeing up there? Oh, don't be quiet, guys. I know we got questions.
All good so far.
So everyone's understanding the premium price is the ask. The bid is what the buyer's trying to buy it at, but the ask is what the seller is actually selling the call option, the contract. These aren't shares. These are the options contract pricing. So everyone, I just want you to take note of that screen. Really pay attention where that current price line is. And I'm going to pull this one up just so you guys can look at that first one again. That current price line, it tells you where it's at in between the options. And these are all important things that we need to be able to go on to and identify, even if we're not going to trade options in the future, but we can identify and watch pricing, watch volatility, and we'll get into that more in options 102, but to be able to look at the screen and feel confident looking at that screen and knowing what those numbers mean, that's a real important step into understanding options. So I just want everyone to take note of that. Sure, go right ahead.
So the premium price, if I were to buy the contract, it would be that price times 100 for the contract?
That's a great question, and I will be getting into that, but to answer it shortly, yes. And I'll show you why here in a little bit. We're actually about to roll into that. But thank you for that question. Yeah.
Here, make me a cookie.
Make us all a cookie.
Uh-oh. I didn't know you heard me. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's okay.
I got so many questions. I just actually got the screen.
Oh, okay. We're at a great stop point here, guys. We did just have a really good question, and we will be getting into that. But if you have any questions about what we just went over or anything else, or if you'd like to look at a screen that we previously had up and you'd like to maybe look at the definitions or anything, this is the time. If you're getting lost, if you're getting just in the weeds, this is where we're at. So I don't want to move forward unless we all feel good about what we've seen, and if we feel like we're ready to move forward with a little more information on top.
Well, can we go back over that last screen? Because I was only seeing half the screen.
Okay. The black one or the white one?
The yellow one, that one right there.
Okay. So this is an actual Webull options page here. This is what you'll see if you were to pull up Webull Live. And actually, guys, give me 1 second. I might be able to make that happen for us. All right. Okay. So this is an actual, now AMC is not trading. Oh, sorry. Let me get this transition for you. All right, this is an actual AMC options page on Webull. All right, everyone that can see this, this is what the options page fully look like. The picture that we saw before, it's a little bit different. I'm not going to be able to point out anything, but that's how crazy it actually looks when you go on there and you don't know what you're looking at. But because we're going through these little things step by step, you can start to identify each one of those. And I don't know if you guys are able to see my mouse. Let me see. Oh, okay, they might light up for you here. So let's say I'm just looking at these as an AMC options page, and I'm just going to go through these again. The ask here, the red numbers, that's the premium price for the contract. That's the actual price for the contract. The strike price, this middle gray line, that's the price per dollar for a strike price. So we've got a $26 strike price, a $27 strike price, and so on, so on, and so on. And as you can see, AMC currently is trading at $35.23. So it separates between the 35 and the 36 strike prices so that you can see the price, because later on down the road, it'll be important to know that price at all times. But for this use of this class, we just want to be able to identify where the current price is and then the various strike prices listed on this page and the ask. Now, over on the right-hand side is something we probably shouldn't be looking at yet, but a lot of the times you're going to see this when you pull up Webull options. It's going to show you calls and puts. We're not going to get into puts, so I'm just going to work with calls today. Again, we'll look and we'll see the bid is what the buyer is trying to buy the call option at. The red is what the seller is actually selling at. That's the premium price, and that would be $9.35 for this $26 strike. So we know that the break even, if we can do the math off the top of our head, 9 plus 26 is going to be 35, and then 35 cents. So the break even price for this top $26 call option is going to be $35.35. All right. I'm going to go back to our screen and see if anybody has any questions. Let me pull this back up real quick, guys. So we're back on the page, and again, we're going to go through these one more time before we move on, just so everybody's feeling like they got it.
Okay, the premium is the ask price. Let me write that down.
Yes, yes. The premium is the ask price. The bid, the green numbers to the left of that are going to be what the buyer's trying to get it at. So like, you know, you go onto the stock market. Now, this isn't buying stock, this is buying an option, but just per se for an example, it's like you try to go to the stock market and you're trying to buy a stock at a cheaper price than what's actually selling. That's what's going on in the screen right here. The premium price is actually the red number. The green is what the buyer is trying to get it at. And when you go to purchase the premium, that's going to be, or purchase the contract, you're going to be buying what that ask is. All right. The break even, again, in this situation is not shown on our screen. But in order for us to be able to find out what that break even is, we're going to add the strike price plus the ask. So we're going to add the strike price and the premium price. For instance, the $11 strike price down here on the bottom left-hand side is selling for 44 cents. So we know that our break-even price is going to be $11.44. You guys, you starting to feel good about that?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We had a good
Yeah,
little break there. Oh,
So
go ahead,
that's
sorry.
that's how you determine your price target to let you know if you're in the money or out of the money, right?
Yep. We'll get more into that probably into options 102, but yeah, you're on target with that question. Yep. It's just like to go back to a stock situation. If you know you bought a bunch of shares at one price and it's been down below it, and then it gets back to that price that you bought in at, right? That's your break-even price on stocks. We'll be using the break-even price here later on for the options, but yeah, essentially that's the price that you'll know whether or not you're in the money or you're out of the money on it. And I don't mean in the money on the on the option itself. I mean in your pocket. But I don't want to get people mixed up on that a little bit, but we'll get into that a little bit more. Any other questions here, guys? All right, I'm going to move into a little recap here again. So we're gonna recap this real quick, and then we're gonna start moving. It's gonna start moving here, and you're gonna start seeing a couple different examples that's gonna put this out in front of you where you can start to understand it. So let's do a little recap here. An option is a contract between a buyer and a seller where a set price of a bundle of 100 shares of a stock at agreed upon price. Okay, so that's what the contract is. That's what an option is. It's a contract to buy a bundle of shares at a set price, not at that moment, but down the road. The cost of that contract is called the premium, and we saw that in the example as the red ask or the price on the other example where it just said price. That's the premium price. I'll tell you firsthand, the white example that I showed earlier, click it up real quick. That's from Robinhood. I don't know if anybody in here is using Robinhood. I know we do Webull here at Bulldog Trading, so we did want to make sure that everybody saw this example from Webull. But different trading platforms are going to have different ways of doing all kinds of options or how they show them. But in most cases, you're going to want to be able to find these 4 things on any options platform because it's going to help you going forward. All right. Again, the strike price is that pre-agreed upon price of 100 shares described in the options contract. The strike price is the pre-agreed upon price for those 100 shares trading at, okay? The break-even price is the sum of that strike price and that premium, and that's that formula, again, that you might have to use if it's not shown for you on the screen. It's always just going to be strike price plus premium. Strike price plus premium equals break even. Okay. The option given to the buyer of a contract is to exercise or not exercise the contract. That's the options. That's the part of the contract that they call it an option because you have options as the buyer. You can do certain things. You can either take the shares later on, or you can just say, no, I don't like the contract anymore, and just walk away from it. But remember, the buyer with that option is also given the option to exercise the contract at any time from the moment that the contract is open. So if a contract is, however long you can think, the buyer can close that contract at any moment. Doesn't matter if it's time length out for a long time, the buyer can close it at any moment he wants to. All right. So let's come back around to a couple things that we've already talked about, and we'll kind of start to put pieces together here. Remember how I talked about the bundles of stock? We're going to go through that now. Each options contract gives the buyer the right to purchase that bundle of stock at a set price. That's the strike price inside the contract. In this case, the bundle refers to 100 shares of a certain stock. So that bundle, whenever you've heard that term here, it's referring to 100 shares because each options contract is going to be an options contract for 100 shares. And you need to remember that 100 a lot because it's going to be helpful as we move forward. So when the buyer purchases an option, they're purchasing a contract to buy 100 shares at a set price or the strike price, as we've already talked about. The buyer will still need to purchase the actual contract, and the price of that actual contract is the premium. Okay, so even if down the road, or unless that's not even if the buyer wants to buy some stock or buy an option from the seller, so he has to pay that premium. That premium is non-refundable. Even if the buyer chooses not to exercise his contract, that money does not come back to the buyer. The premium is gone. Once the buyer gives that money to the seller, it's done. It's not for any shares. There's no stocks exchange. It is the only thing that's exchanged for that premium is the contract is opened. That's important to remember whenever you're buying options in any way. All right. Now we have enough info to figure out the final price of an exercise options contract, because we know that if we take the strike price and the premium and we add that together for our break-even price, it's also the final price of an exercise contract. And I know that's going to raise up a couple questions, because the break-even seems like it could be so many things, and the break-even actually is a lot of things. And the more education you get on options, you'll learn why. But in our situation here, the break-even is a formula for strike price plus premium. It'll show you what the full contract cost is if you were to buy a call option and exercise it. Do you guys feel like you understand that, or is there any questions on that part? Okay.
Seems
So,
easy.
all right. So there was a question earlier about the 100 shares on the premium. And this is where we're going to start doing the math. This is where the math starts rolling in and we start using the terms, but we have to start adding math to it. Okay. So we saw how the premium was presented as $1 or even a cent amount on those examples earlier, where you saw like the strike price at $6 and the premium was $1.12. But I want you guys to remember, that's not the actual price of the premium. It's in the case of, I'll use what's on the screen here, with the bundle of stock being with the case of the bundle of stock being 100 shares, the actual premium accounts for those 100 shares adjusted. So anytime you see a premium price, you have to take that price times 100 to get what I call, I don't know if you'll find this term anywhere, it works for me though, the actual premium. So the question earlier was, anytime you see a premium, you actually have to take it by 100. And the answer to that is yes. If you see a premium for $1.12 and you want to buy that options contract, you're not going to pay $1.12. That's the price for a contract on one of those shares, essentially, in that 100 bundle. So if you were going to buy an options contract and the premium was $1.12 that you saw on the screen, you times that by 100, what are you going to get? You're going to get $112. That's the cost. That's the actual cost of the premium, because you've got to adjust for the 100 shares that are inside the contract. The premium, they show you the smaller numbers to make it easier, but really it's almost kind of twisted in a way. So you guys just remember that the actual premium is 100 times the premium price that you see. For instance, let's just do it here on the screen. I have it up there. If the premium shows 15 cents, the actual premium is going to be $15. So you took 100 times 15 cents to get $15 actual premium. This is, again, important when you're finding out what we were just talking about on the slide before this, how we had the information now to find out final cost on a fully exercised options contract. So you know what your entire cost would be if you were to purchase an option, you pay the premium, and then you exercise and you buy the shares. That's how you can find out the full final price. Well, part of finding out that final price is finding out actual premium. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next slide here. So again, this is how we're going to add up and find out the final price of a fully exercised options contract, a call in this case. If we take the I'm sorry, go ahead. I heard someone say premium. Go ahead if you had a question. Okay, so again, this is how we're going to add up the final price of a fully exercised options contract. If we take the actual premium plus the strike price, so the actual premium before was the premium price times 100. Now we're going to do the strike price times 100 to account for the 100 shares on both of those price. We'll get the final price. The final price. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So all those numbers that we saw on that screen earlier, they were small amounts. They were like, oh, okay, one was 112, another one was 207. Those are actually times 100 when you pay your money up front for that premium. That's the actual premium cost. Well, if you're buying an options contract and you've already paid that premium and determined a strike price, you need to take that strike price times 100 because you're going to be buying 100 shares at that strike price. That's how we're going to get the final price of an exercise contract. So for instance, the seller sells his options contract for an actual premium of $15. That means he was selling that contract on let's say it was on Webull. It was showing as a 15-cent premium. When he collected the premium from the buyer, he actually collected $15. Then the contract the contract had that set price, the strike price inside of it of $7. So then we know right then and there, when that contract is fully exercised, what will the seller collect? Well, he's going to collect the $15 from that fully actual premium, and he's going to get $700. That's $7 times the 100 shares. So we know he's going to have a total of $715 from selling just that one options contract, because it's 100 shares times the strike price and 100 shares times the premium. We add those together, and that's the finalized exercise contract price. If everything is done and said, that's what the sell is going to be. That's what the buyer's going to have to pay up front is $715, not up front, but at the end of the contract, $715. And that's what the seller in the end of the contract will collect is $715 in this example. Take a drink of water, excuse me.
Premium that they pay for the contract?
Say that again. I heard the back end of it.
Is the $15 the premium, like you said?
Okay, so I'm going to go back one page because I used that math in the page before. But at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see the actual premium. So I use these numbers into the next page just so it would be kind of the similar. But the premium, let's say it showed on the Webull chart, it showed a 15-cent premium, right? We know that we have to take that times 100 shares to get actual premium. The actual premium that you scenario. But as you can kind of see, the math is similar for all these options. It's going to be 100 times the premium to get actual premium. It's going to be 100 times the strike price to get the full price of the contract inside. But the final price, again, is just like the break even. It's going to be premium or actual premium plus strike price times 100 shares to get the final price of an exercise contract. So you can see these are very similar formulas to get final price and to get break-even price. It's just you have to do the times 100 on both of those in the final price scenario. Okay. So I'm going to do another little stop point here for you guys. We're pushing on about an hour, so we're doing pretty good. I don't want to go too fast because I don't want to pass anybody up. So again, if you have any questions, you need to see another slide pull back, or you have any of the questions maybe have kind of tangled up now that we've started to move into some stuff, go ahead. Feel free to ask. You can DM me directly. I will check my DMs right now just to make sure I haven't missed any.
Odie Pro, this is Neil. Just letting you know, I can't see your screen. It's just the cubes going in circle.
Okay.
Are you going to be redoing this class?
I think what's going on is there's people who can see the screen, and then once the screen is there's too many people, the other people are just in audio version of the class right now. I will have a video up for you guys of what's going on from cut to end, and I'll edit out some stuff just to make sure it's a little bit cleaner and crisper for you. But we may do a second class of this another night going forward if we find out that we just had too many viewers and not enough space for the viewers we had.
And is the video going to be posted on your YouTube or Bulldog's, or is it going to be posted in Discord?
I'm pretty sure it'll be on Bulldog's YouTube. This is a Bulldog trading channel event.
Cool. Just making sure.
Sure thing.
I have another quick question.
Oh, definitely. Go ahead.
I tend to learn much better by actually walking through the process or watching somebody walk through the process. And you're the one that helped me buy a lot of alternate coins at one time.
Oh yeah, H2O Bubbles, how you doing?
I'm great, and it was so helpful for you to walk me through, literally watching you do it, and I was screenshotting everything that you were doing on your site, on your computer. It would be awesome if you walked through somehow, without, I know the account number issues, to watch you actually place a call option, say on something random, and it would be amazing for me to see that.
I might be able to make a video of that happening. Options are only traded during open market hours. So that's something we can all learn here today. So you can only buy options, at least that I'm aware of. Bulldog, I might know more, are only traded during open market hours. So I would have to make a video of that, or we'd have to do a class during market hours. But I agree, it's a good visual thing. If you guys can't see this,
in options, in options 102, we'll be doing some live options purchasing, or if it's not live, we'll do some mock-ups where we go into Webull, we'll go into Robinhood, and we'll make options purchases and state why we think that this is a good price, or we'll get much deeper into it in options 102, the next class, once we get this very basic understanding from this first class.
That would be fantastic. I mean, because that's usually how I embrace stuff a little bit easier.
Okay. I've got some good examples coming forward here that might be real helpful. I just want to make sure that everyone, again, understands those 4 terms and can maybe even start to identify them if we were to pull up a page. You don't have to, but I hope that you guys move after this class, you take this information and continue to move forward in your education on options, but definitely come back, like Bulldog was talking about, in 102, and we'll get even more in depth. But right now, we're just trying to get the basic information across so that you can look at these things. And then when you come back to the next class, you're firing on all cylinders because you know what these things are. I can tell you, for one, that a lot of these terms that we're talking about today, if you were to go other places and look at videos, if you didn't know these terms and you watch those videos, you kind of get lost really quick in those videos. So they can be really just real mesmerizing. You just get kind of lost in their videos because they're talking so fast and they're trying to explain stuff. So I really want to just point out today these 4 terms that we've gone over. And like I said, we've got some good examples coming forward that I think is going to start to show the process of the option a little bit better and how it's going to work out. But again, if you guys have any questions about anything that we've already gone through, definitely now's the time to ask. You can DM me and I will try to go over any questions here.
You're doing great so far, and I totally agree about the other videos because I've watched some other YouTube videos and I feel like I'm constantly pausing and then Googling to get definitions. So yeah, I agree.
And I'm hoping that, again, we're going to be doing our options class here, but there is more information on the net. I'm hoping that you can take this information and possibly go back to those videos and maybe gain a little bit more from those videos now because you understand maybe what the terms were in those videos. There was another question there. I'll go ahead and take that now. Sorry.
I have a question. I was just going to make sure that the 4 options, because I couldn't see the screen in the beginning, but not the 4 options, but the 4 terms was option, strike price, premium, and break even price. Were those the 4? Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Oh, exercise. Okay. So.
And again, if you'd like, try to think of ways you word that in your own way, because I kind of want to ask later on what you think those words are without showing them on the screen, because I want to hear how you guys tell them. Because again, these are some pretty important terms, and a lot of people can explain them in different ways. I tried to come up with some easy ways to explain them. There's more technical ways to explain them, but for what we're doing here today, I thought these might be some really easy ways that we can grasp them, we can see them, and we'll understand them together. And if there's any questions about them, they're easily explainable. But yeah, these are 4 terms, really important to options, and they will be used well beyond today's class. So it's good things to know on all 4 of these terms. And another thing that we learned here today that's a real good thing is that an options contract, and this one might be a good little star note you put on your notes there, an options contract always revolves around 100 shares, that bundle of shares. A single options contract refers to a strike price of 100 shares. All right. Make sure I'm on the right page here. Okay. So now we're going to move into the process. And Bulldog and I kind of developed something that we hope is a little bit simplified before we actually do some livestock, not livestock, but real stock options examples. But this way is a little bit for a process, kind of teach you guys what's going on and why options might be useful here. All right. So let's say this guy, Carl, has 10 PlayStations he's trying to sell. He's trying to get rid of them. And a guy named Tim, he wants to purchase the option to buy all 10 of those PlayStations at a set price. He doesn't want to get worked over or anything. He'd like to get all of them at $500 each if he can. So Carl offers to sell Tim an options contract on 10 consoles for $500 each. Now, this is a different scenario when we're not using 100 shares, but we're using 10 consoles. He wants $200 premium upfront for the right to purchase those 10 PS5s at $500. So this would mean that Carl is going to collect $200 from Tim up front, period. That's done. That's to open the contract. Now, Tim will have to pay, once that contract's opened, and this is just a scenario, guys, so I know it's a little weird, but the contract has been opened for that $200. Tim isn't getting that money back from Carl. The $200 is the premium to open that contract. But now Tim will have to come up with $500 times 10 to exercise the contract if he's going to. But we'll move forward through this. All right, so Tim, after paying the $200, he has the option, again, the options part of an options contract, to exercise the contract or buy the consoles. If he does exercise the contract, he'll need to have all that money now up front. He already paid the $200. That was the pre-part of the contract. That's the premium. That was to open the contract. But now when he's going to finalize the contract, he's going to have to come up with $500 times 10. Well, we know that's going to be $5,000. So the final cost of his contract was going to be the $200 premium plus the $5,000 for the 10 consoles, which comes to $5,200. Tim could choose to exercise the option and purchase the 10 consoles and spend the $5,200 total at $500 each and also the $200. But remember, this is an options contract. Tim has the option to not exercise if he wants to. So let's see an example of what could be different in the world that Tim would change Tim's idea. So now, out of the blue, that $500 console is actually selling for $800 on the market. And Tim has already got a contract in with Carl to get those contracts at those consoles at $500. So no matter what, if Tim was to exercise the contract and pay the total of $5,200, he's now got $8,000 worth of PS5s on his hands. Tim could easily turn around, sell all 10 of those PS5s, and he'll make $2,800 because it would be the 800 minus the 5,200 that he paid, or sorry, the 8,000 he made on selling the consoles minus the 5,200 that he paid Carl for the contract would equal 2,800. Sorry, my math's getting better. 2,800 would be his total profit if those consoles did go up to $800 and he exercised the contract. But again, we've got options here. Let's say he had a contract for those $500 consoles, but the price for those PS5s suddenly drops to $400 on the open market. Well, it's not going to be smart for Tim to exercise the contract if the price of those consoles are at $400 because he's actually going to lose money when he tries to resell the consoles. That's why it's called an option, guys. They have the power, the buyer does, in the contract to either purchase and exercise on those shares or to just walk away. But remember, you still have to have the premium paid for to get that option. So you're going to buy the option. The buyer is going to buy the options contract by paying the premium, and then he can exercise or not exercise the remaining part of that actual contract. The premium's just the upfront payment. The rest is on the buyer to decide what he wants to do. And in this case, Tim would probably, if they were selling at $800 a piece, he'd probably exercise the contract and then turn around and sell the PS5s immediately. Whereas if they were trading down, or the PS5s were selling down at $400, Tim wouldn't exercise the contract. He'd walk away with his lost $200 premium and, probably go buy PS4s or PS5s for $400, and he could probably still turn a profit. But again, that's why it's called an options contract, because it gives the buyer an option on what he can do. Let's go over the math on that just a little bit more so everybody can see a different version of it. The total option contract cost of Tim's option contract to Carl cost him $200 premium plus the $500 strike price times the 10 consoles. So we got to $5,200 total. And as you can see, we break it down to $200 plus $5,000 equals $5,200. The total the cost of Tim not exercising the contract would just be $200. Tim paid $200 to buy the contract. If he doesn't exercise, he doesn't owe any other money. He can walk away from the contract. He chose that option. Now, Tim would probably choose to exercise that contract with Carl if the consoles were now selling at $800. But again, that premium, whether or not they're selling at $800 or $400, he's not getting that premium back. So if you're the buyer of an options contract, you are not getting the premium back. The premium is the price to open the contract, and you agree upon it the moment you send the money to the seller. You are you are opening that contract. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the Tim Carl process there? About how the options process works. And again, that's not a stock option, but it is a process that is similar to a stock, but we tried to use the PS5 so that people could understand it in this scenario a different way. Everybody feeling good?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna start prying on you guys here. Some of you are gonna have to start answering because we're not leaving until this bad boy's done, and I feel good about it. All right.
Literally used that analogy, and then light just went off in my head, and it makes so much sense now. Like, everything makes perfect sense.
You starting to see it now, why the premium is there and then why the contract is actually there?
It all makes sense now, so that's great.
Okay. That's good. And there's, like I said, there's more info out on the web. We can come back to 102 and you can keep building on that information and moving forward with it because there's still lots to learn. Lots and lots to learn. All right. Let's see here. We're going to go into an actual stock situation. And I'm going to use a stock that I know you guys are probably all aware of, the RIDE stock. So if you can, have your pen and paper ready. I know a couple of you can't do it. Don't be bothered. You'll be able to look at this later in the video or do it later on in practice. So again, let's apply what we've learned today on an actual stock. A buyer in this scenario wants to buy or purchase a ride stock option contract. Now, what is the buyer going to need to determine first, guys? The very first thing the buyer's going to need to determine when he's opening the stock, trying to buy an options contract, the first thing he's going to want to determine is going to be the strike price. He's going to look and see where that current trading price is, that current price that we showed on the screen. And then he's going to look and see the strike price. Whether it's here or there is not really important, but that's the first thing a buyer is going to determine. Then, after determining the strike price, the buyer is going to want to know the next piece of info. And that next piece of info was that premium. Because, again, that's how we're going to figure out the final price or the break-even price. In both scenarios, we're going to take strike price and premium to get the break-even price, and we're going to take strike price times 100 shares, premium times 100 shares to get the final price of a contract. So those are the two things you're going to want to know right off the bat, or a buyer is going to want to know right off the bat when they go in to purchase a call option. And in this scenario, we're going to be looking at buying a ride call option or a stock option, but we're in this scenario, we're using call option. All right. So our buyer determines they want a ride $4 strike price. Again, we're going to use those colors that we had before so you can kind of remember. The red circle is going to be the line with the strike price. As you can see, I put a red square on the $4 strike price. All right. The $4 strike price has a $1.12 premium over there in the orange box when the current price is $5.07. So you can kind of learn just from that information I just gave you right there. When that current price is moving up and down, the premium prices are going to move up and down. That's why that current price is important. And when you move into 102, you'll start understanding that a little bit more. But for right now, we're just looking at the price is 112 on the $4 strike price. So the premium price is going to be $1.12 on the $4 strike price. And that means our break even, strike price plus premium, is going to be in that green box. And on this platform, this is Robinhood again, it shows you break even. It's going to equal $5.12. All right. But as we've learned before, that those are abbreviated prices and not the actual prices of, per se, the contract within or the premium to buy that contract. In reality, the actual premium in this scenario would be $112, and the total cost for the shares at the end of the exercise contract would be $400. And we can see that with the math we've already learned today just by looking at this screen. If we apply our math, we can get it all. It's all right there in front of us. As long as we apply the math, the times 100 on each one of those boxes, we'll find out what the final price or the exercised price of a call option would be on this ride $4 strike. And I'll point out one other thing. If you were to buy this $4 call option and exercise it with a final price of $512, well, what would your average price of your shares be on the 100 shares you just got? Your average price, if you add the premium and the strike price and do the times 100, get the 512. Well, you divide that by 100, you're going to come up with an average price of $5.12, which is also your break-even price. That break-even is a real important thing, and it will tell you your average price of your share of a finalized exercise contract. So then you know, once you collect those 100 shares on an exercise contract, I need to be above $5.12 for those shares to be profitable. All right. You guys you clicking with that? Is there any questions on that?
Give me a second to digest it. That's a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, we can go back through it one more time here. Again, we're just looking at this ride strike price. This is a $4 strike price. It's in that the red column over there, the red circle. If you look down the left-hand side, you'll see a $7, a $6.50, a $6, a $5.50, a $5, a $4.50, and a $4. The 4 is the ones that circled. And as you can see, the blue square there is our current price of the stock when this picture was taken. The strike price at that current share price of 507, because that's what the price of the actual shares are trading at currently when the picture was taken. The premium price was $1.12, and the strike price that we were choosing it on was a $4 strike price. So again, if we take our actual premium, which would be 100 shares times the $1.12, coming up to $112, and then we take the final share cost, which is strike price times 100, we can know that our total finalized exercise contract, if we bought this one, would equal $512. And again, we know we'd be collecting 100 shares on an exercise contract. So we can divide that immediately and find out that each one of those shares would be worth $5, or have an average price, not be worth, but have an average price of $5.12, which just happens to be our break-even price right there for us too. So that break-even price, again, can play both ways for you. It can tell you the price to be profitable, but it also tells you on an exercise contract, what is the average share when I walk out of that exercise contract with my 100 shares? What is the average price of each share? And this isn't deep yet. This is just the basic stuff, but all of these things will apply down the road in a lot more learning. So if you feel like you don't have it yet, definitely speak up, because you want to know these things before you start going deeper and start looking at options pages and start looking. You want to know everything that we've gone over today and feel good about it, that maybe you can identify these things for yourself. All right, I'm going to move here. And let's do a little, I've already been doing it for you guys, but I'm going to show it on the screen. So maybe if the wording hasn't worked, the math out front will do it for you. The $1 or one $4 ride option with a premium of $112. That's what we were looking at on that slide before. So we're just calculating for one ride option in this scenario. We're going to take that $1.12 premium times 100 shares. That will become our actual premium, plus our $4 strike price times 100 shares. And that's going to give us the total cost of $512 on an exercised contract. If you don't exercise, you would never have to pay that $512. You would only pay your premium to open the contract. But on an exercise contract, you'd want to know what the price is, and that's what we're learning here, is how to add up that final price of that contract. So again, we'll take the premium times 100 shares plus the $4 strike price times 100 shares, and that's going to equal up to $512 total cost. In this situation, the buyer is guaranteed a share price average of $5.12, and the seller is guaranteed to collect a total of $512. Remember though, this contract is options for the buyer, and they don't have to exercise. And even if the contract isn't exercised, the seller will still collect instantly the premium that opened the contract. He's going to keep that no matter what, whether the contract gets exercised or not. Okay, let's do a little real-world recap. So the buyer agrees to the $4 ride contract by paying the $112 premium. That's the contract is opened. When the buyer sent that premium, the contract is opened. The seller agrees to the contract and by collecting the non-refundable premium. So once he's got that money in his account and it's never coming back out, that's the contract open on both ends. The buyer can then choose at any time to exercise the contract and pay the remaining cost of the contract. So in this scenario, it was the $4 strike price times the 100 shares. So up until the time he exercised the contract, the buyer had only put up $112. That was the $1.12 strike price, or premium price, sorry, times 100 to get to that $112. That's all he had to put up in the beginning. But if he exercises the contract, he now needs to come up with the $400 for the 100 shares. The buyer can also, as we've mentioned a lot before, can decide just to walk away. If he just walks away and doesn't exercise the contract, it runs out. The seller will then be given the freedom to do whatever he wants with the stocks again. So if the buyer doesn't exercise, the seller can go and sell more options on these stocks again. He can go and sell the stocks himself. The seller is only obligated to the buyer as long as the contract is good. If the contract is not exercised, or the buyer decides to just say, screw it, I don't want to do the contract anymore, then the seller can go and move his shares again. All right. We're going to move into the best part of the day. The question and answer time. Do not feel afraid to ask questions now, guys.
Wait, can you go back to the last slide?
The last slide? Yep.
Yes, please.
Uh-huh. What do you got? What do you not see in there? What do you need a little info on?
I'm just taking notes on the bottom part there. I think I don't fully grasp that whole part right there at the bottom about exercising the contract, seller versus buyer, but I'm sure you're going to get there.
No, I will kind of explain that a little bit better here. So let's say a buyer buys those ride options, that single ride option for the $4 strike price, and paid his premium of $112 to the seller, right? Then the buyer says, or I don't want to use this timeline yet because that's more of an options 102 stuff, but let's say the contract expires. Let's say the contract he bought had a timeline on it, and the buyer didn't exercise the contract before the timeline expired, right? So now the seller, who had sold a contract on 100 shares of his own stock, is free because that contract expired, or you could just say the buyer walked away from the deal. The seller is now no longer obligated because the buyer walked away or let the contract expire. The seller can now take his 100 shares, right, and go do it again. He can go sell a contract again on those shares and collect another premium on those. Or he can go and sell those shares if he's already in the profit on them. He can go and sell them because they're his shares. He never got rid of them. When the contract isn't finalized and it expires, the money exchange, the premium, stays in the seller's hand, and no stocks are ever exchanged.
Okay. So basically there's two ways to make money here. You could just sell the contract and just the contract by itself without selling all the 100 shares. Or you could do both, sell the contract and the 100 shares.
No. The only way, we're getting into a little strategy here, so we're probably more for 102, but just to answer your question real quickly, the second part of that question is no. You can only do that once the contract's already completed. You can't be doing both at the same time. If you have 100 shares and you sold a contract on them, those 100 shares are locked up until the contract is either exercised or expired. They're locked up. You can't do anything with them.
And is that from the seller's perspective?
That's from the seller's perspective, yes.
Okay.
That's why the seller doesn't have options in an options contract. The seller is literally just collecting a premium, and then he puts his 100 shares on a shelf and says, when you want them, you come and get them at that price. That's the price we agreed upon inside that contract. All right. But if the buyer who paid the premium that's non-refundable looks up and goes, you know what? I don't want those shares anymore. Or, if I just sit here and wait till November 21st, whatever date it is, and I don't purchase them, I'm not out any money besides my premium. Then, and only then, from the seller's perspective, will those shares be unlocked for the seller again. And again, we're getting a little bit into 102 and trying to make money, but that's perfectly fine because I'm glad to hear you're asking those questions.
It does help me wrap my head around it when I kind of know a little bit of the end game. Mm-hmm. So I kind of understand what you're saying. So as a buyer, you're buying the calls or the puts, but the sellers are the ones selling the contract. And when you execute the contract, they are giving you the 100 shares.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the process. Yes. So
to be a buyer, you need to buy 100 shares of a set stock.
No. To be a buyer, all you have to be is the purchaser of an option.
Okay.
The
So
contract itself.
once I bought an option and then exercised it, and I own the 100 shares, then I could become a buyer at that point. I mean, a seller at that point.
Okay, but I'll give you two scenarios. So
okay,
I have 100 shares of AMC here in my collection. Just hypothetically, I have 100 shares, and I'm gonna sell an options contract as a seller for, let's say, a strike price of $45. Currently, they're trading at $35. So you, as a buyer, are like, I want to buy those shares because I think they're going to trade down at $34, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I'm trying to sell I'm trying to sell at a higher price. I kind of got mixed up in that one, but let me rewrite. I'm AMC. I have 100 shares. It's currently trading at $35. You want to buy 100 shares at $34. You open a contract with me for whatever premium I decide, okay? And you pay that premium, and then you can decide to wait however long our contract is, whatever date we put it on. You can wait, or you can collect those 100 shares for $34 right then and there. But you could wait and see if it drops below 34. If you're the buyer, you could wait and see the full length of your contract, because if those shares drop below 34, it might be cheaper for you not to do the contract, to exercise the contract. All right. So that's the one scenario. As the buyer, you could buy the AMC, you could buy the contract, and immediately, even if they're trading at $45, even if the stock goes up after you bought the contract, you have a contract to buy those at $34.
Right.
They could be up to $100, and you can be like, you know what? Exercise. Give me my shares at $34. Now you have 100 shares at an average price of $34 plus your premium, whatever that works out to be. But it's well less than $100 shares. So you've got a profitable trade there. All right. But if you're the seller, let's look at it in this sense. If you're the seller, you've got AMC 100 shares. You wanted to sell them at 35. You allowed for a contract at $34. Okay. They're trading at below, let's say they're trading at 32. You sold a contract at $34.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer never comes around to collect those 100 shares. He bought the contract, so he paid the premium to the seller. Okay, so the seller collected whatever the premium cost was, but then the buyer never comes around to finalize the contract. Well, at some point, that contract's going to expire. When that contract expires, the seller is now free from all obligations to that original contract and can now do that again. So again, if I have 100 shares of AMC, and I know AMC later on down the road might go to $700 or whatever, but currently I'm sitting there waiting around with a bunch of AMC. I can then sell a contract on my AMC at a price, collect a premium, and I am hoping, it is a gamble, that the price doesn't get met. Because if the price doesn't get met, more than likely that buyer, it's not going to be profitable for that buyer to exercise the contract. So I just collected a premium. But again, you're gambling with that notion. And I can give you a perfect example, because I have Excel contracts right now doing this to me, where the seller himself gets screwed over in that deal. You know what I mean? So it again, I'm getting a little too deep here, but yes, you can't do both at the same time. If you are the seller, you cannot be selling the stock and have contracts on them. So meaning you can have a contract with one person, but you can't be selling the stock to somebody else. You can only have a contract with that one person, and that stock is locked in until the contract is either expired or exercised.
Okay. Thank you.
And I probably twisted up some people getting in a little too deep there, but I think it's pretty good. So is there any other questions here about the purchase, I guess the real world scenario of it? Because I'm about to start hitting you guys with questions. I'm going to see who's out there ready to answer.
I've got a little something to add, Odie.
Mm-hmm.
It might be worth noting that 99% of the time, these options are not going to be exercised in the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so why would you want to buy this ride contract with this break-even price of $5.12? It would be because you think the price of ride is going to be above that by the time this contract expires.
That is correct.
So that's how you're going to make money off the options trade. Is okay. I think that a ride is going to be above this $5.12 mark by the time this option expires, and the more it goes above that mark, the more profit that I make on this buying this call.
True. A good point. And all this information that we're going through tonight can lead to that. And you can feel confident in learning how to do things like that by learning the stuff that we've gone over here tonight. Thank you for that, Bulldog. Appreciate that. Let me ask a couple questions here to the class. Again, we are pushing on about an hour and a half, so we're doing pretty good here. I don't really have much more to go over here except for that I want to make sure you all understand everything that we've gone over here in class. So I'm going to straight ask anybody, first person to answer it. What is the premium? What is the premium?
The premium is the fee that the seller charges to even have an option, for you to even have an option.
That's right. That's right. It's the price of the opened contract. It's the price you're going to pay, or a buyer will pay, to open a contract. And again, if we were to look at it on one of these screens, the premium is always going to be the ask price. And on the Webull page here, we can see that the premium was the red numbers. It's going to be what the seller collects to open the contract itself. It has nothing to do with the stocks. You will take it times 100 to get actual premium, but the premium is the price to open the contract. Okay, that was good. Thank you for jumping in there. What is the strike price? Anybody got that an answer? Don't be shy. You can DM it in too if you want.
Odifro, you said you are going to do another one of these courses, because I only got in at the very end, and it's just now showing me your screen.
Okay. We'll definitely, I think we're having a video of it for you, Neil, and I'll also put this information up in the Discord, the actual, the presentation I have here on the screen. It'll be up in the Discord for anybody to use.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because I was just testing a few things before something happens later. So
sure, cool thing. Can anyone give me the strike price? What's the strike price?
So that's the price that the cost of the shares that we're buying the contract at.
That's right. It's the agreed upon price that the buyer and the seller have agreed upon. It's the price within that options contract. So the shares are going to be, on like this instance here, the strike price of an $8 strike on this one down here with a premium of 107. We know that we're going to take that $8 times 100 to get $800, and that's going to be the total cost of those shares if and only if we exercise that contract. If we took the contract to finality, we would pay $800 for those shares plus $107 for the premium. But yeah, that's right. The strike price is the agreed upon price within that contract. All right. What is the formula? Let me get off of here, and you guys can see that one. I'm actually not going to do that. What is an options contract? Let me ask that question.
It's the right, not the obligation to buy a stock.
That's a good explanation. Yeah, the options contract itself is the right for the buyer to purchase a amount of shares, 100 shares at agreed upon price, or AKA the strike price. That's what an options contract is.
I have a little question. I might jump around. So you have the right, not the obligation, to buy the stock. So at the end of the day, whenever you have that option to buy or to buy those 100 shares, like how does that look like on, say Webull? Does it pop up? Does it give you a discount?
You know what? Give me 1 second. I might be able to just give you an actual look at what it's going to look like on Webull. Second.
On the phone app, there are 3 dots in the bottom right hand side, and you can actually choose to exercise the option when you're looking at your option that you own.
So let me see here.
It is worth noting that most of the time, what's going to happen is the stock rises, the premium is going to rise as well. And 99% of the time, what you're going to do is you're going to just sell that premium back into the market instead of exercise, because you'll see that that's how you're going to end up making more money.
Mm-hmm. Let me see something here real quick. I'm trying to clip a screen here for you guys. Give me 1 second. I'll probably be able to show this for you.
This is
But just to know, when you see the options on like Webull, it does look different. You're not gonna see anything that you've normally seen on the actual Webull page. It's gonna look a little bit different on your listings in your positions. And I'm actually having a hard time screen grabbing this. I might be able to present that a little bit later after the class, but right now I'm just having a hard time grabbing it. And I'm sorry about that. Let me see if I can do something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was the actual press button. You said it was a 3 dot, like little settings.
Okay. Let me do something. I might be able to do that.
I didn't know if it was like do you have a certain amount of to buy them? Like I just want to know if there's like a time frame that's like, okay, you can buy these stocks or not, and then you're like, I don't know if it's like the next day you still have that option to buy them, or if is it like a one.
Okay. So if you were to be a buyer of a call option, a real world call option, and then this is kind of getting more into 102, but this is a good question, so I'm going to go ahead and then play sport with it here. All the options have an expiration date. Okay. It's important to note that. I didn't want to get into it too much here in the class because we're trying to learn the basics, and the expirations date on options are really important, but they can be overwhelming, especially in a basics class. But to answer your question totally, yes, you buy an option, they're going to have a date on them, whether it's a week, a month, years, they're going to have a date on them. You get to choose that date as the buyer. Now, your ability to exercise the option at any moment is from the minute you buy the option to the minute the option expires. Meaning, if the timeline is up till 3 p.m. Central Standard Time or 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the stock hours on a Friday afternoon, which most options, I believe, all end on Friday. Is that right, Bulldog? Not crazy saying that one. Yeah, all options end on Friday. So Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern on your date, when that goes wrong, or when not goes wrong, but when the options expires, then you don't have any more. You don't have that exclusive right once that option expires. But up until that 4 p.m. I keep thinking in Central Standard Time. So up until that 4 p.m. time on the East Coast, when the market closes on Friday, you have that exclusive right as a buyer to exercise at any time, whether or not the strike price is met. You as the buyer have that option. So let's say you bought a call at $7 on Ride, a $7 Ride call. You paid your premium for it, and the stock never made it to $7. It was trading at $6.59 on close to the end of the day on Friday. You have an option. You can let that stock, you can let that call option expire at that point and walk away from it, or you can go, it's close to $7. I'm only going to pay, I'm still going to pay $7, for each share, but it's only 30 cents. So in that case, you would take a loss. But if you had a good feeling about it, maybe you're you wouldn't take a loss. You would pay for less, you pay for more than what you're getting. It's not necessarily taking a loss, but you would take those shares and then you would have to wait to see if they go up. But in most cases, you would look at that and go, you know what? It's not trading at $7, so I'm just going to walk away, use my exclusive right to do one option or the other, exercise or not exercise. You have that option. You can then walk away from those shares because they're not trading at your strike price. But you have that option at any moment until the contract expires. All right. Pull this up. Again, I'm still trying to get a Weeble pick. I don't know. Bulldog, can you get a pick without any information of a call option? I'm trying to get one that's good, but.
You mean just of the
Yeah, I got to resize my whole screen to get it, and I'm having a hard time doing it.
to exercise the price? You mean the exercise?
No, just
button?
to show what the options look like on Weeble when you have them in your positions, because they can be really. But really, I tell you what, don't even do that. We got to do this before we do that. Every single person, before you can trade options, has to sign up for options. You will have to go to your platform and ask them for the ability to trade options. Robinhood will do it. Webull will do it. TD Ameritrade will do it. Schwab will do it. Everyone is going to ask you for that ability, or you're going to have to ask them for that ability. So before you go and ask for that ability, you start doing a little bit more homework. You start looking into a couple more things, and then you come back here for options 102. And by then, maybe you're ready to get that options trading set up on your platform, and you're ready to start feeling confident that maybe you're ready to make a trade in options. I would not tell anyone as of right now to take this information and go out there and try to trade options. You're not ready in my book. You haven't learned enough from this class. The information that you are getting from this class, though, can begin a forward step into more options information. You can definitely take this information and go watch other people's videos. You can take this information and start discussing options in the Discord with other people and start gaining information from other people in the Discord, because you'll be able to understand now what they're talking about when they say $5 strike price, Friday 19th, blah, blah, blah. You're going to start to understand that. You're going to be able to start to see it, and then you can go and watch how these things are traded and maybe come back to options 102, or definitely come back to options 102 and start asking more questions. Start getting a better grasp on how you can turn an options investment into money, how you can start to profit from them, and how you can use them in other ways too, because Bulldog can teach you so many ways to use options. But this class was just to break you guys in, to get you to understand some key terms, and to be able to look at that screen. I'm going to pull that screen back up just for a couple more times while we're still here. Just to get you guys to be able to look at these screens and go, you know what? I'm starting to understand all those numbers up there. Because once you can see the strike price, the break evens, or figure out the break evens, once you start to understand the premiums, you can now start to figure out the cost of the initial premium cost. You can figure out if it's going to be a profitable trade for you, if it's not going to be a profitable trade for you. All these things start working together, and you can start piecing the parts together, but also you have a foundation for moving forward as you want to. Don't feel the need to have to go out there and start, oh my gosh, I got this information, I'm ready to go. Now, keep learning. Definitely keep stepping forward on your education here. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything you guys would like me to go over? I know we've had some guys in here that I haven't heard a single voice from or seen any kind of messages from. So I just want to make sure that those that haven't spoke up, haven't said anything, are definitely feeling represented, and definitely don't feel lost in any of this. So if we got time here. I don't need to leave and go do anything. It's only 5:48 my time. If you guys want to go over any info, I'm here for you.
I feel much better, and I want to thank you, Odie.
You're welcome, bud. I'm glad that I wanted to make sure I could help. That's all I wanted to do. I'm glad you
Definitely
make me feel good hearing that.
Cleared up. I had a couple things that I like figuring out the prices and stuff, and that definitely being able to see it on the slides and stuff helped a lot.
I'm glad to hear that. That's what we're going for. And again, there will be a lot more
in 102, and maybe we go into 103, it starts getting crazier, but knowing these things is really important.
Thank you so much for joining us for Bulldog Trading Options Class 101. Make sure to join us for 102. Join us right now on our YouTube channel. We are live 24/7. That's Bulldog Trading YouTube. Much love. See you guys at Options 102.